I want to talk about a lesser known technique within Microsoft Excel in regards to creating formulas. This technique that I want to discuss here is array formulas. Take a look at the screen. I've got an example file and you can download this. It's going to be attached to this lecture, or you can find it within the blog post. But here I've got array formulas -01. Okay. Inside of here I've got a simple little list. It's got the salesperson, a product that they sold, the number of units they sold, the price per unit. Now I want to get total sales. Okay. Sales for each of these line items. How much did Catapan sell of chocolate chip, and so on. And then I also want to be able to get a grand total of sales. Now we know there's a couple of techniques that you can jump in and accomplish this particular scenario. I could jump in here and create just a simple little calculation. I could say equals C2 times D2. Okay? But that's only going to accomplish it for that one record. I hit my enter key, $990 for that line item right there, Catapan chocolate chip. And then I could copy that formula down. Well, I mean, that's great and that works, but an alternative to that is I can create just one formula and get it done for all the records. Okay? Take a look. I'm going to demonstrate how to use an array to accomplish this in one formula. And then once we see that formula, then I'll talk a little bit more about what that formula is actually doing. So my very first step is I want to be able to have this accomplished for every single record in here. So I'm just going to grab every row here from, what is that, E2 down to E43. Make sure I got all of that selected. And now I'm going to create a formula. I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to grab the C column from C2 down to C43. Now ultimately, I want to take that column, all of those values, and I want to multiply it with the price per unit column. So I've grabbed C2 through C43, multiplying that by D2 by D43. Now this might seem a bit odd. Normally when I do my multiplication, it's a cell against this cell. Well, here this time it's this range against this other range. Well, now to finish this off and to actually call this an array formula, I'm not just going to hit my enter key. That's typical formula. But here I'm going to press Control-Shift-Enter. Control-Shift-Enter. And just like that, I've calculated all of them. 990 for the first one, 793 for the second one, 378 for the next one, and so on. So what's actually happening here? What's an array? What is it doing within this formula? Well, if we look closely at that formula, once again, looking here at the top of my screen in the formula bar, we've taken a collection of values, in this case all these unit prices, all these unit values, and then we've multiplied it with the price per unit column. Now remember, after I did that, I pressed Control-Shift-Enter on my keyboard, and that's really what does the magic. That's what turns it into an array. You'll see these curly braces that surround this calculation. That means that this is an array formula. So the array, we are taking these two ranges and essentially making a collection of values. And if I could assign them a position within that collection, we could say inside of this C2 through C43, D2 through D43, these values fall at the number 1 position. Those two values right there, number 1 position. The next two for Catapan Fudge Brownie, these two values fall at the number 2 position, and so on. Number 3, number 4, we continue down this list. We have these pairs of values. Now the array goes through those pairings and multiplies them. Says, hey, what's in the first position of C2 through C43? What's in the first position of D2 through D43? Multiply those and give me a result. Then it goes to the next set. What's at the second position of that range of cells? That collection of data. Oh, it's 61 and 13. Multiply those, give me the result. And it continues doing that. It's just a collection of two sets of data that have a position, what's at the number 1 position, what's at the number 2, what's at the number 3, and so on. And it just goes down through the list and multiplies the pairings together. That's an array. It's a collection of data. We've really got 2 arrays, and we're just multiplying them based on their position. Now let's take this a step further. Let's imagine that the E column doesn't even exist. It's not there. So I don't have those individual totals that I could then get a grand total off of. Well, I could recreate it and then sum up the results to get the total sales, or I can use an array to just do one formula and give me the total sum of the product of each of these orders. Take a look. I'm going to say equals. I'm going to go grab, actually before I do that, I'm going to drop in a sum function. Then I'm going to go grab a range of cells, in this case the unit price. I'm going to multiply that with the price per unit. So now I got this nice little formula. Again, it's going to look a bit odd, but I've got equals sum C2 through C43, or this collection of data. Multiply that with D2 through D43, or this collection of data. Now, once again, to really get the magic happening here, I'm going to do Control-Shift-Enter, which turns it into the array, the collection of data. What is that? $36,046.60. Let's put a $sign on there. So that is the sum of the product of all of these line items. $36,046.60. All done in one calculation. So let's break down the formula once again. I've got 2 collections of data, or 2 arrays of data that have that positional, right? Number 1 is 99 and 10. Number 2 is 61 and 13. Number 3 is 28 and 1350. It's going to multiply all of those together and then sum them all up, all in one formula. That's an array formula, a collection of data that you're performing some type of math on, and it's able to iterate through all of that data. Try this out. Download the file. I'm going to provide it for you, array formulas -01, and try out these 2 array formulas.